think the girls are gonna plan a year 2000s party. I'm gonna need to use the magic cabinet and bring a figure to life that can help me. Yeah, a figure that is a time-traveling expert that can take me back to how I would dress 20 years ago. I think I know just the figure. What it do, my peeps? We are here for the party.
Mayor Aaron, what in the world are you wearing? And who's that with you?
Oh, let me introduce you. This is my new buddy, Kushida. He is a time-traveling expert, and with his expertise, I had him help me choose my outfit that would take me back to the early 2000s. You know, since we're having a 2000s party.
No, idiot. Today is a celebration of LumberJillville reaching 2,000 subscribers, not the year 2000. Plus you two are dressed more like the 80s.
2,000 subscribers? Yahtzee Shotzi! Come here, Alexa, you're right! LumberJillville got to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube! But you know what? I'm not content because I'm gonna keep on growing. I want these women's wrestling figures to get respect, and I want them to get more attention.
You are getting the wrong kind of attention dressed like that.
Hey, chillax. Me and my boy here, we're looking good, boo.
Please stop using 2000 slang terms.
Well, Mayor Aaron, I hope you enjoy the party. I must leave now. I must continue the path of a time splitter. I'll be back.
Until we meet again, my dude. You know, I'm going to miss that little guy. I really hope he comes back to visit us sometime. But either way, you know, even though I did think this was a year 2000 party, I actually came prepared to celebrate our 2,000 subscriber milestone. That's right, I brought a figure of the most dominant and groundbreaking woman from the year 2000 with Elite 41 Lita.
Just do the figure review of Lita. I'm sure the subscribers would want that.
Yeah, you're probably right. But before I do this review, I say let's not let these tunes go to waste. And why don't we put on some music to celebrate? In sync? No strings attached? Yeah, you know this one?
No, just review the figure.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know what? If anyone's gonna review a women's wrestling figure, it's gonna be me. Welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here, and welcome to today's very special video where we celebrate LumberJillville reaching 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Now, I first and foremost want to thank every single person out there that has somehow contributed to that. I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank every single one of you, and I feel like I have the best fans in the world, and I love every one of you. And I want to keep growing. I want to keep on rolling. And yes, that means I'm going to continue to pre-order every single women's wrestling figure and review it here in LumberJillville. But I'm also going to be doing bonus women's wrestling figure videos, such as today. Now, I wanted to do a special video to commemorate and celebrate reaching 2,000 subscribers. And I thought, what better figure than Elite 41 Lita? So even though this figure came out in 2016, I did some research on the attires, and everything that I found is all these attires are from the year 2000, and that's when Lita was super, super dominant. Now, obviously, years before, years after, and even up until today, she's making appearances, but the year 2000 just makes me remember Lita, and I thought this would be a perfect figure to review for today. So, I'm really excited to take a dive in, review this figure for all of you, but one more time, I just want to send my love and thanks, and y'all rock. So, let's dive into this figure. Alright, so taking a closer look at the packaging here, I have to say, this is a lot of fun. This is bringing a smile to my face because it's really cool to see packaging of the past. Now, this Elite Series 41 came out around the 2015-2016 time period, and this was the Elite packaging at the time. So, yeah, I've done some classic women's figure reviews in the past, but very rarely do I have them MOC where we can really take a closer look at the packaging, but this definitely makes me want to in the future because this packaging is really cool. So, you can see it has an overall red and silver type theme. It's got this nice little angle in the package. We got a nice open window on the front. Lita's posed nicely in the box, and we got those two interchangeable tops here visible. Now, as far as displaying MOC, I'm not the biggest fan of this because obviously she comes with those two tops. You want to put them on her. You know, you at least want to put one on her. So, I think it's pretty cool that she comes with them. But as far as MOC purposes go, it just looks a little weird. But on the front here, we also get her name at an angle there. This is Elite Collection Flashback. On the side, we have a photo of Lita. And on the other side, we have that same photo along with her name. On the back, we have a nice little bio, photo of Lita, and then the rest of the line, which this is a pretty cool line. I actually do have this 123 kid. It's a really cool figure. So, with that being said, let's open it up and see how difficult or how easy it is. Because I don't think I've ever reviewed a figure from this packaging. So, hopefully there's just two spots to cut here, maybe. That doesn't include my finger. Almost got it there, guys. Alright, so, okay, so we cut those two spots. All you MOC collectors out there are probably like cringing. I'm so sorry. This is just what I do in LumberJillville. I do have some MOC figures and it slides right out. So that's pretty darn easy. It's really cool. This little backdrop has a little fold in the corner. So, and there she is. So let's get her out and take a closer look. Alright, so my first impressions of this figure are pretty darn good. I think this is a really cool figure, especially considering it was fairly early in the Elite line. I think they did a tremendous job here. Now, this is going to be very interesting because obviously the next part of the review, I'll put it on the turntable, talk about what the attire's from. But the cool thing about this figure is it almost has three separate attires, I guess you can say. So we're going to go through those at this section right now and kind of talk about what the attires are from and also see how easy or hard it is to put these on. So right off the bat, Lita here in the black top is from the August 21st, 2000 edition of Raw, where Lita would defeat Stephanie McMahon to become the new WWF Women's Champion. Now, this is a look that we saw quite often, and what's pretty cool and pretty iconic to Lita, obviously when she'd get fired up, she'd take her shirt off, she'd have her bra underneath here, a sports bra, and this is kind of the look she'd go with here before she got fired up in the match, so it's cool that we get that as a base model there. Now, taking a closer look here, that top is just painted on with a little molding between the chest, but that's perfectly fine because it does the job fine. Moving on down to her lower body, I think what really stands out here is not only her little thong underwear painted on, I think that's a pretty cool addition there, very iconic to her, but listen, these molded cargo pants are tremendous. I mean, you really have to see this in person to see all the intricate details and molding that went into them. But these pants blew me away. I did not expect them to be that awesome. So they definitely did a great job here. And overall, this look of Lita is just, it looks pretty darn good. And we will cover the face next because that's the one thing about this figure. It might not be that great. Also on her arm, we have this very extravagant tattoo painted with great detail. It actually looks pretty darn good. So now let's move on to the attires that she comes with. So first off, it is this white top. Now let's put it on her and then we'll talk about what the attire is from. So here we obviously have a little fasten situation in the back, but I wonder if you just pop her head off. Oh gosh. We're not going to pop her head off because, oh, maybe we have to. No. Okay. All right. You don't need to pop her head off to get this white top on. Just slide it on there, push it under her hair, and then on the back, we have a little fasten, which actually fastens real easy. So this is her with her white top applied. So this attire is from the August 24th, 2000 edition of SmackDown, where the team of Lita and The Rock would defeat the team of Stephanie McMahon and Kurt Angle via DQ after Triple H would interfere. So yeah, this white top looks awesome, and I'd be happy with this included alone with this Elite. But obviously, I think what really stands out is that next top we're going to try on. But this fits her nice and is pretty darn easy to get on, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Now let's see how hard it is to take off, because getting it on was easy. However, going over that hair was a little bit of a headache, and it's just as easy to take off. Okay, so no problems there. Next, let's put on this little mesh greenish yellow colorblind top here. I think this is what really stands out with the figure and probably what most collectors display their Lita with. So it has a little Velcro fasten in the back. You can just slide her arm in, slide her other arm in. Watch me rip this live on camera and just break my heart. Okay, and we can slide this real easily. Now what I like about it is it seems to fit her nice and snug. Sometimes with these soft good shirts, they're real loose. But, oh my gosh. Okay, so this is awesome. So before we take a closer look, let's talk about it. Now this greenish yellow top is from the July 10th, 2000 edition of Raw, where Lita would confront and eventually attack Trish Stratus ringside while they were cheering on their teams. Trish was with TNA at the time and Lita with the Hardys. Now, I saw a very similar attire to this during the Backlash 2004 pay-per-view, but that mesh see-through green shirt had long sleeves and it also covered up her midsection, so it really wasn't this exact type shirt. So for research purposes, that's what I found. This shirt making an appearance, and y'all, this is cool. I mean, it fits her nice and snug, which is perfect. It really looks like a cool material. It looks pretty spot on to how it was in real life. And it was pretty easy to put on. So yeah, this is definitely how I'm displaying my Lita. I think this looks awesome. So yeah, I think all three attire options are pretty unique in their own way. And you could even display her, if you want to display a fired up Lita, you could even take this green shirt and put it in her hand like she's throwing it. So that's really cool. Now, with that being said, let's take a closer look at that face. Alright, so moving on to all the details that went into the head, the first thing I am going to say is I really do like this hair sculpt and the color red that they chose. Now this sculpt is really cool, has a lot of attention to detail, a lot of waves in the hair that are molded on nicely, and it looks great. And the color red that they chose, they went with a more realistic and lifelike color, so it really does capture her hair color at the time pretty darn well. Now, that's such a big deal to me because a lot of times with the women's wrestling figures, they're pretty lazy as far as the hair coloration goes. I mean, look at Elite 83 Sasha Banks and how she just has a solid bright blue color throughout the whole hair. There's no tones, there's no roots, nothing, and it doesn't really look realistic. I take my hat off to Jazzwares. They've started to really do a good job as far as making the hair on their women's figures look a lot more realistic, but that's neither here or there. I just wanted to say that I'm really impressed and think the sculpt and the hair color looks awesome on this Lita. Now, moving on to the face, I am going to say that initially when I saw this figure, images online, and when I first got it, I was like, hey, this looks pretty darn good. It looks a lot like Lita. But I'm not completely sold on it. Now, the most important thing to note is this is way before TrueFX face scan technology, and I'll show you the other two Mattel figures that she's had that have had that TrueFX face scan technology, and those scans are unbelievably good. I'm talking some of the best scans of all time by Mattel. So here, before that technology, it is what it is. I don't think it's terrible, but when you look at it up close, it's a little weird. I think the sculpt itself, the facial structure and everything looks excellent, but I think where it kind of has a misstep is around the eyes. It looks really bizarre up close and not too much like Lita. I think they did something a little funky with the makeup around the eyes. There's not a whole lot of white in the whites of the eyes there. So yeah, it looks a little cartoony to me. And I think this would have sufficed and this would have been a fine representation. But we did get better scans down the line. So from a distance, I think the scan looks fine. And I actually think it looks good. But like I said, when you look up close and look at those details, it looks a little off to me. So yeah. Now, with that being said, let's cover Articulation, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do a comparison with the 2 other Mattel figures released. Alright, so now let's cover Articulation. Now, I am going to point out, obviously this was years before we got the double jointed elbows in the women's elites, but I hope they do a re-release, I guess, of this era Lita with an updated scan and also with the double jointed elbows. I think there's a lot of really cool poses you can do with it, and I really hope for that in the future. But this figure here, what we get is we get a little bit of head movement, pretty good to the right, to the left, not so much because the hair. It can slightly look down, slightly look up. It's on a ball joint there. The shoulder is on a ball joint, can go in all different directions. We have that upper arm swivel. We have, like I mentioned, the single jointed elbows. Can't go too far. We have wrists that swivel, they don't extend or flex. We have that upper torso swivel, we can side bend, we can flex, we can also extend. We have that waist swivel, we have the hip on the ball joint. We have that upper thigh swivel. We have, is that a single? Okay, we have a single jointed knee, so that's a little disappointing there. And then down on the feet, we have a little bit of movement to plantar flex, a little bit to dorsiflex. And not a whole lot of rocking side to side. So the articulation here is fine. But like I said, with the technology now and with the women's elite starting with Elite 85 having the double jointed elbows, I would love to see a Lita from this era with the double jointed elbows and also an updated scan. And speaking of, let's take a look at her other Mattel figures that came out after this one. Alright, so next I wanted to do a little side-by-side comparison between all of Lita's figures released by Mattel so far. Now, side note, I know she had quite a few Jakks figures released, but I wanted to focus on the Mattels because WWE and Mattel do have a continued partnership coming up, and I wanted to show what Mattel released so far, the most recent figures, and then maybe fantasy book as to what we could see in the future. So obviously on the left, we have that Elite Series 41 that I'm reviewing today. In the middle, we have that Target exclusive Royal Rumble Elite. And on the right, we have Battle Pack Series 64 that comes with Trish Stratus and also an Evolution Chair, which is an awesome, awesome accessory. Now, like I mentioned earlier in the review, I actually thought that Elite 41 face was pretty good up until I compared it to the Royal Rumble Elite and the Battle Pack 64. Now, side note, I did do a separate review on these in the past, so check those out if you're interested. But taking a closer look at the scans here, I mean, yeah, you can see that compared to that Elite 41, they knocked it out of the park with these two. And what I really like about the scans, so this Royal Rumble Elite, for example, the scan is not only, in my opinion, flawless, the sculpt is great. The hair sculpt is the same from Elite 41, but it works. A little darker, brownish type color of the hair. But this simulates the era of Lita that it's representing so darn well. And the way you can help realize that is by looking at her Battle Pack Series 64. This scan, once again, looks amazing. It's a different scan, different sculpt than that Royal Rumble Elite, but this represents a much more recent, current-day type Lita, one that we saw in 2018 at the Evolution pay-per-view, and it's stunning. I mean, I'm blown away by this scan. Anytime I see this figure on the shelf, I'm like, I have to do a double take because it's that darn good. So, I also like all the tattoo detail on her arm, but... So, if you're trying to decide which Lita to add to your collection to represent Lita as of now, that's tough. Because in my opinion, we haven't gotten that perfect Lita yet. I think if we got an updated Elite Lita that had the updated elbow articulation and also had the TrueFX face scan technology that we saw on that Royal Rumble Elite and the Battle Pack, I think we'd have an awesome Lita. I'd actually like to see an Ultimate Edition Lita that would come with extra shirts and extra accessories. I think that'd be really cool. So I'm really not content with any single Lita, but if I had to choose which one I think is the best to display, even though I think it has the worst face, I would go with Elite 41 because this is Lita. I mean, The gimmick, the character that she had in the early 2000s, late 90s, it's so iconic. And I think all of us remember her run with the Hardy Boys and her solo run and how she changed the face of women's wrestling, honestly. And that's what this reminds me of, and that's what it depicts. And I just think that is stellar. So even though the face scans and head sculpts are amazing on these other two figures, if you're going to represent Lita with one figure in your collection, I would definitely go with Elite Series 41. Now, I do have my fingers crossed that we do get an updated figure of Lita that depicts this time period with an updated scan. So let's hope for that in the future. But yeah, she's had some pretty cool figures released so far. But if I chose one to represent her, it would be Elite 41. And here's one last look at Elite Series 41 Lita. So overall, I give WWE Elite Series 41 Lita an overall score of a 9 out of 10. This is an amazing figure, and it's definitely a piece of history because the time period that this depicts is truly a defining moment for women's wrestling. However, I don't think it's a perfect figure, unfortunately. Mostly because of that face. It doesn't look too bad from a distance, but like I said, up close, it's a little weird. Something's a little off. And on top of that, they showed with her most recent Mattel figures that they can absolutely nail Lita's look with that TrueFX Facecam technology. So I really hope that we get this 2000s era Lita with the TrueFX Facecam at some point coming up, because I think that would be a perfect figure. But until then, I do think this is a great placeholder, and I think this is the most iconic Lita figure that you can have in your collection. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. For a first look at all future women's wrestling figures, make sure to hit subscribe to become an official resident today, and hit that bell to receive notifications for my next women's wrestling figure video posted. Once again, it's truly amazing that we got to 2,000 subscribers, and I thank y'all once again and send my love to everyone out there that has supported LumberJillville from the start. This is a passion of mine, a love, and I would have never imagined I'd even have 100 subscribers, much less 2,000. However, let's keep on going, let's grow the channel, and let's have fun doing it. So that being said, have a great night, y'all.